introduce today's players. First, we have a motor neuron straight from the peripheral nervous system. Welcome, motor neuron. Motor neurons are the primary neurons involved in body movement and are the generators of efferent action potentials. Next, we have a sensory motor neuron from the central nervous system that specializes in receiving and synthesizing information from the body and setting afferent action potentials. Good luck, sensory neuron.
Thank you.
Now, let's begin our first round. The first question is, what are some of the most important functions of neurons in the muscular system? Sensory neuron, you're up first.
Well, Bailey, our primary role is transmitting information to the brain through the CNS.
Correct. Great work, sensory neuron. What other functions do neurons carry out in the muscular system?
Well, intrafusal muscle fibers are really important to us sensory neurons because they help the specialized sensory organs detect muscle length, rate, and amount.
Correct again. That's 45 points so far, sensory neuron. Can you give me another function?
How about involuntary muscle movement?
Oh, I'm sorry, sensory neuron.
Thank you, Billy. It's actually voluntary muscle movement, and that helps our body with conscious function. And that's very important in the key role that we do.
Correct. Now, can you list the other two key functions of neurons in the muscular system?
Well, how about synaptic transmission, where our motor neuron axon terminals connect the neurons to others and control muscle movement.
Correct. And the last two functions?
This is going to be a tricky one. How about the neuromuscular junction, where motor neurons like us innervate muscle cells?
Correct again.
Okay, and maybe reflex arc that we use as a protective mechanism to prevent damage to the body before we consciously detect it.
Correct again. And with that, we have motor neuron taking the first round with 90 points total. Sensory neuron, you have 45 points total after that round, but it's not too late to catch up. We'll be right back for round 2 after this short commercial break. Welcome back, everyone. We have the sensory neuron with 45 points and the motor neuron in the lead with 90, but it's anybody's game going into the second round. We'll start off this second round with the motor neuron. The question for the second round is, what are some of the most important functions of neurons in the digestive system, or where are they found?
Well, I know for a fact that we help control the longitudinal and circular muscles of the GI tract.
That is correct. Any other guesses?
Do we sit in all 5 layers of the GI?
Oh, I'm so sorry, motor neuron, but that is incorrect. With that, we send the spotlight back over to the sensory neuron.
Well, Bailey, our somas don't actually sit within the mucosa, so most neurons are found within the submucosa and muscularis externa layers of the GI.
Correct. Can you give me another answer?
Well, the number one thing us sensory neurons do in the GI is taste the lumen.
Correct again. Can you give me the final answer?
Well, I know we taste the lumen because we need to tell the glands to secrete certain products based on the contents of the lumen.
That's correct. And with that, we are complete with round 2. Well done, sensory neuron. The teams are now tied with 100 points each, and this can only mean a tiebreaker. When we come back, there will be a bonus round. Who will take today's Family Feud? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to Family Feud. We're now having our tiebreaker round, and we'll be starting with the motor neuron. Okay, motor neuron, we've sent the sensory neuron out of the room, and you will now have 20 seconds to name as many classifications of neurons as possible, by shape or function, and one characteristic of each. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
All right then. 20 seconds on the clock, and your time starts now.
Alright, so, well, obviously, there are motor neurons, and the one thing we do is activate effectors. Interneurons integrate lots of information, and both interneurons and motor neurons are classified as multipolar, meaning we have a single axon and multiple dendrites. Then there's also apolar neurons, and they're only found in fetuses, not adults.
Time is up. You did a great job, motor neuron. Let's see how many classifications of neurons you got correct. You listed motor neurons, interneurons, multipolar neurons, and apolar neurons, meaning you got 4 out of the 7 correct. Well done, motor neuron. But now it's time to see if the sensory neuron can beat that score. Let's bring sensory neuron back in.
Hi, everybody.
All right, sensory neuron. Now it's your turn to list as many classifications of neurons and one characteristic of each as you can within 20 seconds. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay then, 20 seconds on the clock, and your time starts now.
Okay, first there are like sensory neurons, and they detect and relay specific energy. The kinds of sensory neurons include multipolar neurons, and they have multiple dendrites, unipolar neurons that transmit sensory info to the CNS, and bipolar neurons that have one axon terminal and one dendrite. There's also interneurons. Interneurons collect, integrate, and relay information throughout the body. And there's also...
Time is up! Well done, sensory neuron. Let's see how many classifications of neurons you got correct. You listed sensory neurons, multipolar neurons, unipolar neurons, bipolar neurons, and interneurons. That means you got a total of 5 neurons out of 7 correct. This makes you the winner of today's game, sensory neuron. Congratulations. Sorry, motor neuron. You can't win them all, but well played. Well, that's all for today, everyone. Be sure to tune in next week to catch the red blood cell family and the white blood cell family play the family feud. Until next time.